I am so very excited to explore today's topic that's very close to my heart. Let's dig into it. Did you ever feel that you're acting differently depending on who you are with? Maybe you talk to your friends in a different way. Maybe you speak with another way with your family members. Maybe it's a very different way when you're meeting somebody first time or when you trying to impress somebody. If that sounds familiar, this video is for you. Today, I want to talk about something very important for personal growth, and that is authenticity. Because the truth is, let's get it straight, people. The truth is, many people are not actually living as themselves. They are living as versions of themselves that they think people are going to accept. So let's break it down in a simple way. I have asked hundreds of people to define authenticity in the past, God knows, 15 years. Most have said, just be authentic, be yourself, live your truth. But what does this actually mean? It just means being yourself. But I don't think that's enough. I believe authenticity begins much earlier than that. It begins the moment you become honest with yourself about what you're actually feeling. It means being real with yourself and with others. It means your outside actions match your inside truth. In other words, you're not pretending to be someone you're not. Let me say that again in a very simple way. Authenticity is when who you are on the inside matches how you show up on the outside. Because here is the truth. You cannot express a truth that you haven't first or recognized. Think about when we were children. A child always cries when they're sad, laughs when they're happy, runs to someone when they are scared, gets excited without worrying if they look silly. Children are naturally authentic. And then something happens. We grow up. And slowly, we start collecting all these different kind of masks. Someone says, oh, don't cry. Be strong. Good girls don't get angry. What are people going to think? Just smile. And before we know it, we stop asking ourselves, what am I feeling? Instead, we ask, what should I look like right now? And that is where authenticity begins to disappear. I think the most common lie adults tell isn't a big lie. It's two words. I'm fine. How many times you have said that? Someone asks, how are you? And you say, oh, I'm fine. Meanwhile, you're overwhelmed, your heart is hurting, you're anxious, you are disappointed, you're exhausted, you're lonely, you are scared. But somehow, I am fine. We have become so practiced at saying that. And sometimes we believe it ourselves. And here's something I've learned. Most people are not dishonest with others. They are dishonest with themselves because they never stop long enough to ask, what am I actually feeling? Not what should I feel, not what's acceptable to feel, but what is really happening inside me right now? And that question, let me tell you people, it changes everything. Let me give you an example. Imagine someone cuts you off while driving. Immediately you think, oh, I'm so angry. But are you? Maybe. Or maybe you're frightened. Maybe you felt unsafe at that moment. Maybe your nervous system reacted before your mind did. Here's another example. Your son forgets to call. You tell yourself, oh, I am so angry he didn't call me. But maybe you're actually feeling hurt. Maybe you feel that I am forgotten. Maybe you are disappointed. Maybe you are worried about your son. But the emotion underneath that anger tells the real story. And until you recognize it, you will keep reacting to the wrong emotion. Many of you know that I am rebuilding my health. Sometimes I think I really want something sweet. All the time I want something sweet because I have a sweet tooth. But if I stop and become honest, I realize I'm not hungry for a cookie. Maybe I'm stressed. Maybe I'm mentally exhausted. Maybe I had a very difficult day at work. Maybe I just wanted comfort. Maybe I'm just looking for something sweet, simple. The cookie wasn't the problem. The emotion underneath it was. And the moment I recognized the real emotion, I had a choice: react or respond. And that is authenticity. Not pretending I am perfectly disciplined, but honestly saying, hey, I am emotionally tired today. I am going to grab a cookie. Let's think about relationships. How many arguments happen because people don't know what they're actually feeling? Instead of saying, well, you never listen to me, maybe the authentic statement is, I am feeling unheard. Instead of, you don't care about me, maybe it is, I feel unimportant right now. Do you hear the difference? Because the first one attacks, the other one reveals. And authenticity doesn't blame, it communicates. Authenticity begins when you start paying attention to your own real thoughts without judgment. What do you actually enjoy? What do you actually believe in? What feels right to you, even if no one else agrees? These are the questions that bring you back to yourself. Let's connect this to everyday's life. Imagine someone who pretends to enjoy certain things just to fit in a group. I can visualize so many people right now that I know. They watch the same shows, like the same trends, and agree with the opinions that they do not actually believe in. On the outside, they seem like accepted, but on the inside, they feel empty or disconnected, but they don't know how to say that. Now, imagine the same person slowly starting to be honest. They start saying, actually, I don't really like that. Oh, that's not really my thing. At first, it feels uncomfortable, but over time, they start feeling more at peace because they are no longer living a fake version of themselves. And that is the power of authenticity. Authenticity is not saying everything. Let's make it very clear to you. This is such a huge misunderstanding. Some people think authenticity means I am just being honest. And then they say something very rude, insensitive, or hurtful. And that is not authenticity. That is poor emotional regulation. Authenticity isn't saying everything you think. Authenticity is expressing what is true, but with kindness and truth. Because truth without compassion, it just becomes a weapon. Authenticity is not being careless or rude. It's about being honest while still being respectful. It is about expressing your truth in a way that aligns with your values. For example, if someone asks for your opinion and you do not agree with them, authenticity doesn't mean attacking them. It might simply mean saying, well, I see it a little differently, or that is not how I look at it. You're still being true to yourself, but also being considerate of others. And one reason I love Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, my God, this man has blown my mind away, is because he talks about becoming conscious of the unconscious. Most of us are running emotional programs every single day. We react, we judge, we worry, we complain, we eat, we withdraw, not because we choose to, but because we have repeated these emotional habits for years. And the first step toward changing your personality is becoming aware of it, because you can't change what you refuse to acknowledge. And here is something I would love for you to try. The next time you feel emotional, do not immediately react. Pause. Take one breath and then ask yourself, what am I actually feeling right now? Not the first answer. Go deeper. Am I hurt? Am I ashamed? Am I embarrassed? Am I rejected? Am I feeling lonely? Am I afraid? Am I disappointed? Or I am overwhelmed. The more precisely you can name the emotion, the less power it has over you. I guarantee that, because I've been working on this for such a long time. Just think about it. Have you ever met somebody who wasn't loud, wasn't trying to impress anybody, yet they had this incredible sense of peace? I don't think it is because life is easier for them. I think it is because they are no longer fighting themselves. They're no longer pretending. They're no longer performing. Their outside life matches their inside life. And that creates peace. And this message is especially so close to my heart because so many women, especially in midlife, have spent decades being everything for everybody else. The dependable one, the stronger one, the caregiver one, the peacekeeper. And somewhere along the way, they stopped asking, what do I feel? What do I need? What matters to me? And sometimes the next chapter of your life doesn't begin with changing your job or your body or your relationship. Sometimes it begins with sitting quietly and finally admit it to yourself. This is how I really feel. And that moment is not weakness. It is the beginning of authenticity. So today, I want to leave you with one simple challenge for the next week. Every time somebody asks, how are you? Pause and first answer the question for yourself. How am I? Not the socially acceptable answer, the honest one, because authenticity isn't about impressing people. If that is your goal, it is not about having the perfect personality. It is not about saying whatever comes to your mind, because the more you align your outer life with your inner truth, the more peaceful and grounded you're going to feel, I guarantee you. Authenticity is not about being perfect. It is about being real. And the more real you are with yourself, the more real the life begins. So authenticity is having the courage. Let me tell you, to be authentic, you have to be courageous. Without that virtue, authenticity doesn't exist. Especially to tell yourself the truth. Because once you are honest with yourself, you no longer need to wear a mask for everyone else. And I truly, genuinely, with all my heart believe, the most peaceful people in this world are not the happiest people. They are the people who no longer have to pretend. Thank you so much for spending these few moments with me. If this message spoke to you, I would love to hear from you in the comments. When was the last time you were completely honest with yourself about how you're feeling? Until next time, take care of yourself and remember, your next chapter begins the moment you stop performing and start living authentically. Love you all.